Academically at school I was not very good. I went to a lot of different schools. I didn't go to university. I started working in a shop when I was 16 years old. And to keep me out of trouble, and this is a long time ago now, we're talking about in 1957, 1958, before you were all born, you had a choice, some of us, when we lived in certain parts of England. You either join a gang and get into trouble, or you don't. And I decided the only thing at school, or one of the schools I could do, was be an actor in the school play. So I decided to try and join a company of amateur actors and to try and just spend my evenings that way. They wouldn't let me act, they would only let me paint scenery for a while. But eventually I managed to get into drama school and then started acting. So it was an escape from home, rather than me saying, oh, I've got to be a great actor. I've got to be, anything like that.
I don't know where to start, because you've been in so many of my favourite films, and The Omen, and do you have any favourites, or have you seen all your films?
No, I haven't.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't. I guess I said I try and avoid watching myself. It's just one of those things. But I have. So for me, it's not necessarily the favourite film to look.
What favourite parts to play?
Well, to look, but it's not to look at. It's more of who I work with. You mentioned The Omen. How many people have seen The Omen? Oh, most of you. Wonderful actor, Gregory Peck, who played the leading role in The Omen, was a wonderful man to work with. And I really enjoyed doing that that movie because of him. It turned out, strangely, we didn't believe it to be quite a successful film. At the time we were making it, we didn't really think it would just be another film. But it was just slightly, it was a ridiculous story. It was preposterous. But it seemed to work and catch people's imagination.
Yeah, it's still very popular. So.
It's a very popular film, and I don't regret being in it, of course. The Star Trek films were fun, except for a lot of makeup I had to put on. If any of you have seen Star Trek I've done, I don't know what you've seen, so we have to,
Yeah. I think most people have seen The Omen and Tron.
Tron?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, for an actor to be working is the most exciting. So,
Yeah, I'm just going to say, there's not many actors who have done the span of your career. Because most, they do a few films and some go away, but you have a great span of
I've been lucky doing lots of different kinds of films with different kinds of people. I've done, science fiction, but I've also done films of, Ibsen and Chekhov and all sorts of different things like that. I've done a western. I've even done a musical. You've never heard of it, thank goodness. So I've done all sorts of different things, and
that must be very nice.
It is very nice. And one of the great things for me as an actor, not many people recognise me in the street or anything like that. They don't say, oh, and sometimes
I would.
Sometimes people say to me, what do you do for a living? And I just say, well, I'm actually working at a bank, to stop talking about acting. Or I say I'm an actor, and they say, oh, what have you done? And I say, what movies have you done? And I would say, well, I was in Titanic. And I said, what did you play in Titanic? And I said, well, I played that guy who did this. Oh, was that you? But that's wonderful for an actor.
Then you've succeeded.
Yes. For people to have to ask you what you've done, then they know who you are when you tell them. For this actor, some actors love to be a star, which is fine, and to walk in the room and everybody says, oh, fantastic. For me, I've succeeded if people don't really know who I am until I tell them, that was me in Straw Dogs, that was me in Tron, that was me in Titanic, that was me in Star Trek.
Yeah, fantastic, because a lot of actors basically play themselves.
Well, yes, but I'm not criticising.
No.
Some of our greatest stars play themselves, and they're wonderful. I don't quite mean it. I know you don't mean it. Really.
No, but like Samuel Jackson, he's good, but he plays himself in every film.
Yeah.
So.
But I find it a compliment when people don't know until I tell them what I've been in. I find it a compliment.
Yeah, I agree. Any other questions?
Yes.
Do you still get offers today? And what kind of offers?
Do I still get offers today? They're getting less and less and less as you get older. Our film business has changed. And there are a lot of, there are about I can only talk about English actors. There are about 5 English actors in my age group. Ian McKellen, who played Gandalf, Patrick Stewart, who's, who you know, John Hurt, a wonderful actor, Michael Gambon, if you know who he is. They're my age group, and they're higher profile because, people just know them more than they know me. And so they get those parts for 70-year-olds, 70 plus. What I won't do anymore is play, although in Wallander I played a man who was ill. He was ill, you know that, he was sort of losing. You get offered a lot of those kind of parts at my age for some reason, and I don't want to do those anymore. I don't think that's fair. That's not a fair representation of my age group. So my competition is very, very strong. Big stars of my age. So I don't run around trying to get work. I'm quite happy with my backlog of work, and if something comes along, it's fine. So to answer, no, I don't get offered a lot of work. No.
What do you like? What do you enjoy, like saying, working on Wallander in Sweden, in Little Sweden, or working on Titanic with James Cameron? What do you enjoy the most?
Oh, quite honestly, and I wouldn't say, and I would be honest to reply, I much prefer working on Wallander than Titanic. Smaller group of people actually talk to you. When you work for a big Hollywood studio, there are so many people you have to deal with. If you come to Sweden and work with Kenneth Branagh, the director, and when you say Little Sweden,
it is.
That just sort of, I hear what you're saying. Now, I don't think of it in Little Sweden, bearing in mind I got married here. Yeah. I don't get married in a little country. No, in fact, I got married in England, of course it's smaller than Sweden. I think it is.
Geographically, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about in the world.
Yeah, it's like on the world, like
we won't argue about that.
Film-wise, we're not the biggest country. So.
Well, film-wise, you do have one of the greatest film directors.
Oh yeah, so they say.
Yeah. So you say that may be an argument. Okay. Any other
questions? Yep.
Just yes.
Yeah, just a quick one. Of all the actors you mentioned before, playing your older parts, and the latest Julian Glover, they have all gotten their CBE. When is your turn?
Of CBEs and you mean the knighthoods?
Yes.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, again, when I became an actor to escape home, it never occurred to me that I would either win any acting awards or get a CBE or the CBE is a cut. Do we know what that is?
Yeah, it's like a
the knighthoods.
Knighthood, a medal you get from the Queen.
The medal from the Queen. I've not. Thank you for asking. I hear what you're saying. You think I deserve one?
Of course we do.
But no, that's not an issue for me. I have no problem not being one of those. It just is not a problem. I don't expect it, and I don't mind that I haven't got it. They deserve it. There are reasons too long to go into here why they deserve it, and I don't necessarily deserve it. And I'll be brief. They have done so much theatre. It's not for their movies that they get honoured, it's for their theatre work. And for reasons I won't go into, had what we call stage fright, meaning for 30 years, I started off in theatre doing Shakespeare, and then I had stage fright and couldn't go on a stage for 30 years. So my profile in the importance of the great actors is very small. They're great actors because they do a lot of theatre, and I wasn't able to do that. But I don't regret not being with them in that way. Thank you for asking.